This is Twit.
So, Jason, you and I are special today, and the reason we're special is we're wearing Android Wear.
You got it. So you got the LG one, right?
That's
the
right.
Gwatch.
That's right.
Or the G Watch, as
the G
most people call it. But I like the Gwatch.
The Gwatch, I like that.
And I got the Samsung Gear Live. I always want to say Gear Life, but that's not it. It's Gear Live, and it looks a lot like their Gear Watch, basically.
First impressions?
First impressions, I think more so on the Android Wear side, kind of what it does to extend notifications to your wrist. It's come in really handy. I have to say, being in the car and wanting to like queue up navigation and not having to like go to my phone and hit the navigation button or go into Google Now and do a voice search for navigation or whatever, just lifting up my hand and saying navigate to Petaluma, and then that's it, and suddenly my phone magically lights up and kicks right in. That was really cool. Having the extended notifications on my wrist is nice. However, the other side of this, right, is that it's all hands-free, but if you touch it, it will like target, shoot off a voice action. If I'm holding my kids or if I'm doing something that's very hands-on, it keeps lighting up because the screen keeps getting touched, and I've had, messages get archived when I didn't do it, that sort of thing. So that's Android Wear. And as far as the watch, I mean, this is the $200 Samsung Android Wear watch. They're launching this, and I think it's solid. I wish that the strap was removable, and the way that this like pins in there, like the two prongs into the holes, it actually comes undone pretty easily. So something to consider. What about you?
Well, my view is that I wanted to hate it. I wanted to say that it was clunky, that it was not the right form factor, and even the Moto 360 is a little bit too high off the wrist. It's a pretty bulky thing for a watch. But I was completely won over by using it, and it reminds me of the iPad because, and I'm going to be writing a column about this, or I have written a column about it. It'll be posted tomorrow on Computer World. But my view is that this is just like the iPad. Everybody's saying the exact same things about this Android Wear watches as that they were saying about the iPad. It's clunky. The screen smudges. You can't read it in direct sunlight. What's the use for it? It's a problem in search of it's a solution in search of a problem. It's unnecessary, etc. And
it's ugly.
The thing that sort of changes everything is when you use it, you realize the wrist is a perfect place for information that's delivered in the right way. And Android Wear is in the zone of delivering that information right. It's stripped down to messages to their bare minimum amount of message. It's not like the existing smartwatches where the little icons, and it's just like a little smartphone where you have to navigate through screens of icons, then you launch an app, and then it's not like that at all. Basically, each nugget of information is its own little thing. And again, this is, and here's the thing that didn't occur to me until I started using it. This is the only platform that I've ever seen that launches out of the box. In fact, this hasn't launched yet. This thing is still something for the future as far as the public is concerned. It's launching out of the box with a killer app, and that killer app is Google Now.
Yep.
Google Now is probably the most interesting product Google has ever come out with. However, as it's existed on iOS and Android and also in the Chrome browser, it's something you have to go find in order to use. You have to seek it out for the most part in order to get these preemptive contextual notifications. Well, now that it's on Android Wear, it has a real home, a real place where those things make a lot of sense. Google Now is the killer app. Even without any other apps, this thing is already worth the price of admission because it puts Google Now on your wrist. That's my opinion so far.
Mike, your opinion, please. This thing, you might as well buy 10 of these when they come out. I want one from you. It sounds like you're going to go crazy over this thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's, okay, all right. I haven't tried it out, so let me be fair. So let me put that out there. I haven't tried it out. I find these things to be incredibly ugly. They are no way a fashion. Are you going to go to a wedding wearing that thing?
I'm going to go to my son's wedding in October wearing this thing, and my son will be wearing one too.
Actually, you'll probably be wearing the Moto 360 at that point.
He's going to wear Google Glass too if his wife-to-be will let him.
You got to be, well, then this is quite the wedding, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It just, they look ugly. The software, I think, you know, we really need to flesh out before we, you know, really get a sense of how good it's going to be. And I think the third-party app support is something that could ultimately make this a big winner or a big loser. But, you know, I look at this and I say the Moto 360 is cool because of its design. It's this, you know, the circular design. I look at those things, they're squared off, they're kind of to me. Now, I haven't tried it, so I'm saying that. You guys have. You're cool. I'm not cool. But, you know, at the end of the day, what about Apple's iWatch? Is that going to come around and make you wish? I'm not sold on any of these things, on any of these wearable technologies. I don't find them at this point to be all that useful in their concept. Again, I haven't tried them, but in their concept, I don't see why after, say, a month, I don't know, the whole thing, the whole luster just starts to wear off, and you kind of go, oh, there's that weird looking thing on my wrist again, and I guess I should talk to it. I'm a cynic, Mike. I'm a cynic.
Well, you said,
look at this.
You've only said one thing that I agree with, which is that Jason and I are really cool because we have these watches. But
well, all right,
but
stop rubbing my nose in it.
But what you're saying though is the same thing people said, and the same thing, you know, everybody said about the iPad before it shipped. It seems so useless, but when you use it, the experience is really great. And I agree with you about the iWatch. The iWatch could be really great, and it'll come down to whether, initially it'll come down whether the Siri experience competes with the Google Now experience. And I think that Google Now currently has the edge because of its preemptive notifications. It reads your Gmail and then says, oh, you've got a flight coming in or whatever. That's really powerful. And it's a perfect thing for a watch, And Google has been tweaking it and improving it and adding features constantly for a couple of years now, I think. And now it finally has a home, and so that's really great. Although I have the feeling that Apple's going to have a really elegant watch, and Siri will probably be pretty good, if not great, at some point. And again, the problems with it, as you pointed out correctly, it is clunky, it is ugly. There are no apps. The apps that do exist don't really work. I mean, it took me 2 hours to get this thing configured because it's a developer pre-release version. That's not going to be the case in the future. Well,
oh, stop! Yes, it will. If this thing's up, it's a lemon, Mike.
Okay, but you know
lemon.
You know that these are the kinds of things that are solvable. You know they're going to get smaller, more elegant. Somebody's going to come out with a super elegant version, and you know that the app. Somebody's going to come out with some killer apps, but I think it's really fascinating. Out of the box, Google Now makes it a killer device.
Big question, right, last question before we move on.
Should we do the news at some point? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, hold on, just one quick second, okay? I got to ask this.
My watch is telling me it's time to go. No, go ahead.
This is the key to it. No, go ahead. Will the average person actually want to use this? Not the tech guys like us or the girls like us. I'm saying the average consumer who cares about, you know, the cool, whatever, David Yurman thing, watch and all this stuff. Are they going to want to wear this thing? I say no until Apple comes along and maybe makes it cool. But until then, I say no matter what we want.
Yeah, and that's a different question altogether about the popularity and mass acceptance. What I've found, though, is that after being a glasshole for a while, which is not an easy thing to do, it's not an easy thing to be, before you go out into the public wearing Google Glass, you have to sort of gird your loins and brace yourself because you're doing something that's controversial and that potentially could end in a confrontation. And you do it because it's worth it. In my case, in the cases where I do wear Google Glass in public, I decide that the benefits of contextually aware notifications and the other things that Google Glass gives you are worth the ostracization and
like
loneliness.
You're Google Geek.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm calling it now.
Right,
you're Google Geek.
Exactly.
I'm saying it.
But Android Wear gives you 95% of the benefits of Google Glass with zero of the problems or downsides.
It's a pivot for Google. I think it's a very convenient pivot for Google because their push behind Glass has not worked out so well in the public opinion, and that's going to be a hard product to push out to the consumer base and have them take serious or have people want to take the risk that you're talking about, Mike. In my short time with Android Wear, it gives you a lot of those benefits with a form factor that people are used to seeing, at least a watch. And as it gets smaller, it'll get better. But yeah, I agree. It's not the most elegant looking hardware, but I think it's a good indication of the future of this kind of technology and this kind of convenience. More so than Glass was.
Yeah, and nobody's going to notice it. Nobody's going to approach you and say, "Hey, is that the new Android Wear watch?" No, it's invisible as far as the public is concerned.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.